Well, hi there, Internet. My name's Court, and you've got courtside seats for my review of Black Butterfly. Let's get it. Black Butterfly is a psychological thriller starring Antonio Banderas and Rhys Meyers and is directed by Brian Goodman. It's actually a remake of a 2008 French film similarly titled Papillon Noir. That's my French accent. Now, I'm going to go a little bit out of my comfort zone in this video because I'm actually going to spoil the shit out of this movie. I really can't talk about it without talking about the ending, but don't worry if you want to hear my non-spoilery thoughts. The spoilers are going to come at the end of the video, and I'll give you lots of notice, and I'll put a big spoiler warning on the screen, so if you want to tap out, you can do so. A lot of this movie feels like a Stephen King story. There are elements of Misery, there are elements of Secret Window, but it's basically about this guy named Paul, who's played by Antonio Banderas, who's a reclusive alcoholic writer. That's 50% of Stephen King's oeuvre right there. And he lives in this secluded cabin in the woods, and he's going broke because no one will buy his screenplays anymore. So the basic premise of the movie goes thusly. During lunch at a diner, Paul gets into an altercation with a trucker, but is rescued by a fellow patron, a drifter named Jack, who's played by Rhys Meyers. Paul invites Jack back to his place for a hot shower and a comfy bed before Jack presumably moves on the next day. The next day turns into a few as Jack is willing to make some repairs around the cabin and also tries to help Paul kick the booze and write a new story, loosely based on the one that Paul and Jack are currently experiencing together. And then things get creepy, and that's all I'll say until the non-spoiler section. So first, let's talk about the good. The acting in this movie is pretty darn solid. Most of it centers around Antonio Banderas and Rhys Meyers, although Piper Perabo has about 3 or 4 scenes she plays Laura, who is Paul's real estate agent. Banderas and Rhys Meyers really have a palpable chemistry, and they both really get to show off their acting chops. They get to be scary, a little bit intimidating at times, and I thought the acting was really pretty darn solid for this flick. The dialogue is tight, the pacing is really good for about 90-minute film. And I really like the cinematography and the landscapes the filmmakers chose to shoot. In a lot of ways, it's a very beautiful film. It is, for the most part, a taut, intense thriller. But now, let's talk about the bad. The editing in this film is a mess. Now, in some cases, towards the end of the film, it takes some twists and turns, and some of the editing is done in such a way to foreshadow that kind of stuff, but it's still not forgivable because the edits are sloppy. It's like somebody had this idea for this cool little intense thriller film and then hired me to edit it. Don't do that. I'm not good. I'm gonna get to spoilers in a second, but just some quick thoughts. This movie could have been... It was never destined to be great. But with a couple of changes, it could have been a pretty decent film. But it wasn't. All right, folks, it's spoiler time. So, like I said, if you want to know what happens, just keep watching. If you want to skip ahead just to hear my final thoughts that will be spoiler-free, I'm going to put a big ol' spoiler warning on the screen, so just scrub ahead until that's gone, and then you're safe. Still here? Cool. Let's go. F*** this movie. Not even the movie. F*** the ending that retroactively ruined the entire film. So Jack takes Paul hostage. Eventually he pulls a knife on him, then he pulls a gun on him, and the whole purpose of doing so is to make Paul understand what a convincing scare really feels like so that he can write this story and make it good, make it scary, make it true to life. Jack goes on to murder the sheriff and Laura the real estate agent. Eventually, Paul gets the upper hand and pulls a shotgun on Jack, and then for some reason starts monologuing, and we find out that Paul is actually a murderer, having murdered his wife and a whole bunch of women since then. Then he tries to shoot Jack, but it doesn't work because, presumably like myself, his gun is firing blanks. So, okay, that's kind of a coolish idea. That's a big twist. All right, what's next? Well, after an awkward edit, Paul wakes up in his cabin, handcuffed to a chair. Looking around the room, he sees Jack, Laura the real estate agent who was shot by Jack and killed by Jack, the sheriff who was also killed by Jack, and the trucker he almost got into an altercation with at the beginning of the film. They're all FBI. The entire plot of this movie was an elaborately choreographed ruse to trick Paul into confessing his murders, which he does. We get looks back at sequences from earlier in the film where Jack is killing people, but we see them from the other angle. So Jack is about to shoot the sheriff and he's like, "Cover your ears," and then shoots like a little bit above. Okay, that's kind of cool. It's no usual suspects, but it's kind of cool. Now, keeping with the idea, the whole premise that Jack is trying to help Paul create a great story with a great ending, Paul says, listen, I'll confess everything in full detail as long as you make sure I don't get lethal injection, as though like an FBI agent has that kind of authority to make a deal, right? But Paul doesn't want the story to end that way. He says, send me to the nut house, throw me in jail, but I don't want this story ending with lethal injection. Then Jack says, no, I have a better idea in mind, and walks out of the room. Now, if the movie had ended right there, that would have been fine. It would have been a cool little thriller that was left a little bit ambiguous, but this is why we can't have nice things. After another awkward edit, Paul wakes up again from a drunken haze, puts a sheet of paper into his typewriter, and types Black Butterfly. It was all a dream! It was all a dream is the most hack, cliche, bull twist of all time. And this movie spent so much time setting up these cool ideas, and it was all a dream. Alright, so spoilers are over. That's my review of Black Butterfly. Obviously, I did not care for this movie, and I almost did, but then I didn't. And it's a shame. Now, I don't have a proprietary rating system as of yet, so I'm thinking I'm gonna give Black Butterfly a...
Well, this isn't very good.
out of 10. So what do you think? Have you seen Black Butterfly? What did you think of it? Did you like the twist and then the other twist and then the other twist? Did you hate the movie? Do you think I'm just being a little bit too mean? I don't know. Whatever your thoughts, hit the comments below and let's discuss. If you like this review, please like and share the video as it totally helps me to build this channel. And if you want to subscribe to this channel, you can do so by clicking the Court Shake logo, which should be popping up at the bottom right of your screen anytime now. Thanks very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one. Take care.